All right, good afternoon. It's 1 o'clock. I just want to start off by saying thank you for attending the Phase 39 Technical Assistance Training, which is mandatory for new applicants, but it's optional for agencies who have received funding in the past. So just a couple housekeeping. Just to let you know that we are recording this technical assistance so that in the future, if any other of the already awarded agencies can go back and look at the training, it's available for them. And also I would like to ask, if you're not speaking, if you can just put your phones, if you can mute your Teams, mute your audio. And I want to start off. Well, this is going to be our agenda, and we want to first get started with introductions. So, my name is Roshana Walker. I am a senior program specialist here with the County of Riverside, the HHPWS, the Continuum of Care. And on the line, we also have Terrell Sales. Terrell, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Terrell Sales. Just recently started working here. I'm happy to be a part and working with everyone here and look forward to it.
Thank you, Terrell. And you probably already have seen emails coming from Terrell and myself. So don't ignore those emails. They are legitimate. So um, now I want to ask you guys, what's your name, your title, the organization you represent, if your organization have been an EFSP recipient, the number of years, and then more or less which service category your agency will be applying for, if you know that already. So if we can start with Anne.
Hi, my name is Ann Blair. I'm the Vice President of Carol's Kitchen. We're a food distributor. Actually, we are a soup kitchen. We serve hot meals. We also give away groceries. We have 8 kitchens and we serve about 6,000 meals a month. And we have received EFSP 38. I think we got EFSP 37 as well. And we'll be applying for the food supplementation.
Great, thank you, Anne. Next, I don't know whose number ending in 7297.
That's mine.
Okay. And introduce yourself.
Okay, I will. Thank you. This is Arlene Rosenthal. I'm president of the Well in the Desert in Palm Springs. We are applying for the food. We've been serving hot meals, doing deliveries to seniors, and have distribution to every Saturday for years. We last did EFSP it was phase number 31. And then there was a glitch because I didn't get the email. So now, at the recommendation of many people that we work with, I'm back applying, and it will be for food.
Great. We're happy to see you applying again for EFSP as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Colleen.
Hi, I'm Colleen Meyer. I'm the Executive Director of the Idlewild Help Center. We have been participating with the Emergency Food and Shelter Program since I believe it was phase 26 or 27. And we apply for the category of other food. We use the money to purchase gift certificates to supplement the non-perishable food items that we give out food bags every week, and so we give out non-perishable food items. So this allows us to supplement that, and we're up in the Idlewild community.
Great, thank you, Colleen. Adrian. You're muted if you're talking, Adrian. Okay, maybe technical issues. We can come back to Adrian. We did, and Candace.
Hi, I'm Candace Graff. I'm the Administrative Services Manager at Jewish Family Service of San Diego in the Palm Springs area. And we had received the EFSP CARES, EFSP phase 37 and 38, and are going to apply for the phase 39. And we do food. So we purchase food for our house clients in our permanent supportive housing program, as well as for our outreach services for our homeless clients as well.
Great, thank you, Candace. Thank you for being here. Carol.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear,
Yes.
Carol.
Awesome. Okay, my name's Carol Alba, and I'm with Faith in Action of the San Gorgonio Pass. And this will be our first time applying, so we have to do the long forms. And we will be applying for a shelter voucher program.
Great.
Housing. Okay.
I'm excited, Carol.
Thank you.
Cheryl.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Cheryl. How are you?
I'm good. So I work as a grant writer for two great nonprofits, and the first one is Community Food Pantry of Marietta, and they have been winning the EFSP grant for the last 5 years or so. And also My City Youth Center, which won the first time last year for their community food program. So again, we will be applying for renewal of those in the food area.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cheryl. Jennifer. Jennifer Fowler or Paler. You're muted if you're talking, Jennifer. And if you're having any technical issues, we can go back. So John Bryan.
Hi, everyone. I'm with Mercy House Living Centers. We have not, I'm also our grants and data manager there. We have done EFSP before, but not, I believe, with the County of Riverside. But we do have a shelter opening up in October as a joint project partnership with the city. So we're looking into possibly getting dollars to support, applying to support that operation.
Thank you, John. And what agency did you say you were with?
Mercy House Living Centers.
Oh, Mercy House.
Mhm.
Perfect. Thank you.
No worries.
Louise? Louise? She may be having technical issues or don't realize she's muted. We can go on to Matt Phillips.
Hi, this is Matt Phillips from Martha's Village and Kitchen.
Hi, Matt. If you can tell us a little bit about your organization, how many years you guys have been an EFSP recipient?
Yeah, I think we've been with you pretty much from the beginning for both shelter and food. So it's definitely been a while, and so I'm not exactly sure on the number of years, but yeah, I think it's
At
pretty
least
close.
10 years.
Yeah, at least 10 years for sure.
Yes. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And is there anyone else I missed or wasn't able to speak before? No. Okay. Well, we can move forward. And so I'm just going to go over the overview of EFSP. EFSP, as you know, stands for the Emergency Food and Shelter Program. And it's a federal program administered by FEMA, so Federal Emergency Management Agency. And the Emergency Food and Shelter Program was authorized in 1983 under the, as we all know today, as the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act. The EFSP program was created to supplement and expand the work of local social service agencies for both nonprofit and governmental in an effort to help people with the economic emergencies. So it's a supplemental program, and we'll get more into why I say it's a supplemental program in the present. I'll get to that later in the presentation. So the chain of responsibility for EFSP. So as I stated earlier, we receive funding through FEMA. Then there's a national board, which is headquartered in DC, that we get our funding from. And that national board is made up of the same agencies that makes up our local board as well, for the most part. But they are the decision makers in DC at that national board. And then there's a local board. And the local board, as you can see in the presentation, we advertise for the availability of funds. We oversee the competitive selection process. We determine the amount of in the categories for each funding. The local board makes local policy decisions. So all of the decisions made for EFSP locally is made by the local board. So we do have quarterly local board meetings and some special meetings in between if needed. So in that, the local board, I'm sorry, does someone have a question?
I think I caught.
Oh, sorry. Okay, and so the local board monitors agency's performance. And we also review reporting and documentation. So there is a local board contact that does most of that, most of these jobs, which is manage and the performance and review the documentation. And that's the local board contact, which is myself, Rashana Walker. And then what is also you will hear referred to often is LRO, which stands for a local recipient organization. Now, the local recipient organization are organizations such as you all. And you guys provide the direct services to individuals in need. So our local board, this is our local board, the agencies that make up our local board, and I have to ask for forgiveness. There are actually three new agencies that make up our local board, which is Feeding America San Bernardino Riverside and Feeding America San Bernardino Riverside and Department of Social Services. They're part of our local board, as well as Access Foundation. And to become part of the local board, all you have to do is make a request to the local board, and the local board votes on the membership. But we do ask, if you want to make a request to become part of the local board, we do ask that you attend meetings regularly, because when it comes to voting, we have to meet quorum to actually pass or not pass the vote. So think about that. We're always looking for local board members who will attend the board meetings, because like I said earlier, the local board drives the policies at the local level, and they make the decisions at the local level.
When are your meetings, where, and how many times?
So we have quarterly meetings. I sent out a blast to the Continuum of Care membership, as well as the current contacts for EFSP, but we just had one July 14th. Sorry. We just had one July 14th. Our next regularly scheduled meeting is September 8th. And we will send out an email at least a week in advance for those meetings. However, there will be a special meeting that we are actually tentatively scheduling for the week of August 9th. And that's for the migrant families response, those applications for the migrant families response, for those agencies who have been working with those migrant families.
Thank you.
No problem. So on July 14th, the local board actually approved for the funding priorities to be 65% shelter and 35% food. Now, the 65-35 depends on the amount that was allocated for Riverside County. So you'll hear the process, but our local board decided to put this application out ahead of time, because when the national board puts the funding allocation out, it's usually a very quick turnaround. And we wanted to give our local agencies enough time to put the application together. So our funding priorities are 65 shelter, 35 food. However, we do not have the exact allocation that Riverside County will receive. We will have that number at a later date. It's usually about $1 million. 1.1 million, or it's in between $9 to $1 million. Our last funding allocation was 1.1. So just to give you a ballpark figure. We do, but again, we do not have the actual funding allocation for Riverside County as of yet. So this is just a review of the phase 39. RFA stands for request for application. So like I was saying earlier, it's the amounts will be determined at a later date by the national board. And the spending period for phase 39 will begin on October 1st. And we know that begin of the spending period because phase 37, phase cares, and phase 38, they all end on September 30th. So we cannot start phase 39 without those phases ending. So that's the reason why October 1st is the begin date And if everyone could do me a favor and put your phones on mute, because I think I'm hearing some background noise, not unless someone has a question. No questions? Okay. And as I said earlier, the funding allocations have not come out yet, which also means that our spending in period is not out yet. So that spending in period will be determined at a later date once the national board puts the funding allocations out. I'm getting some background noise, so I'm gonna go ahead and mute everyone. And if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand or interrupt me as I go through the presentation. So this is our timeline for the Phase 39 application. So we put the release out for the application. The technical assistance is today. It is mandatory for those agencies who have not received funding in Phase 37, 38, or Phase CARES. So congratulations, you guys. If you are new agencies, congratulations, you already achieved the first technical assistance, the first mandatory requirement for this application. And then there's a question and answer period, which ends August 13th at 5 o'clock. Those questions and answers will be posted on our website for future references. But that period ends August 13th. And then the deadline to submit applications is August 20th by 5 p.m. And we're accepting it by email only at efsp@revco.org. No late applications will be accepted. So make sure you guys get it in before August 20th, on or before August 20th by 5 p.m. Any questions so far? Hearing none, I'm gonna move forward. So eligibility. All agencies providing food and shelter services for at least 1 year in Riverside County can apply for funding. As I said earlier, the categories are food and shelter shelter can consist of mass shelter or mass shelter, other shelter, which are motel vouchers, or rent and mortgage assistance. And food they're served meals, other food such as food giveaways, and the food boxes and food pantries. And then Riverside County, since Riverside County is separated into supervisory districts, all applicants will be required to identify in which of the 5 districts that you would intend to provide services in. All applications must be complete, and all new applicants must complete the new applicants portion of the application, and we'll get into that. And the returning applicants must complete the returning applicants portion. So there are some parts of the application that returning applicants do not have to complete. So that's the reason for the distinction. Is there a question?
Yes, I have one. This is Ann Blair. Can you apply for more than one district?
You absolutely can.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And these are just the criteria for agencies. And for a local agency to be eligible for funding, of course, you have to be a nonprofit or government agency, not barred from from federal funding, receiving federal funding, can receive electronic funds transfer payments. And that's really important because EFSP only provides a hard check the very first time that they provide funding for you, but all funding transactions after that will need to be an electronic funds transfer. You have to have you have to have a federal identification number, a DUNS number, I'm just going to highlight a couple. I don't want to read all of them. And if you're receiving or expending 75,000 or more, you have to conduct an annual audit. Actually, an external audit, but if you're receiving over $100,000 or more in EFSP funding, you have to have an independent annual audit. That's all on that. So these are the eligible activities: mass shelter, other activities, rent and mortgage assistance, served meals, food pantries, food vouchers or food banks, and administrative costs. And this is just a list of supervisory districts. If you wanted this list, we can provide it to you after this meeting. Or this recording will be on the website shortly following. So I went over a little bit of this. So for new Phase 39 applicants, as well as returning, there is a minimum request of 5,000 per supervisory district. There is a minimum of 5,000. And then there's a maximum request for new applicants. The maximum request is 20,000. So say a new applicant, they want to provide services in 4 districts, they can do 5,000 per district. For a maximum for those agencies who are returning applicants, they have a maximum of 50,000. So they can request up to 50,000 per supervisory district. Any questions regarding that? No? Okay. So as I was stating earlier, the 65-35 allocation for food and shelter. And then the application standards. All proposals must be submitted in accordance with the standard and specification that is in the RFA and the project application to be considered for funding. HHPWS shall not pay any costs incurred prior to you receiving prior to any of the preparation of your applications. And then the application is divided into 4 parts, and the parts must be completed depending on if you're returning applicant and a new applicant. And it is marked in the application. Submit 1 application that includes the 4 parts in PDF and EFSP. So 1 application, but that application includes all 4 parts. Any questions regarding that? No? Okay. The narrative is limited to 10 pages, and that's including the questions. So if you're doing the questions and the answers, remember it's only 10 pages. If you exceed the 10 pages, the application will not be scored. So make sure that your narrative questions do not exceed 10 pages. And new agencies must submit all required documentation, and that list will be in this presentation as well. And so for returning agencies, these 2 parts are the only parts that you would have to submit, which is the cover page and part B, which is the funding request. All new applicants will have to provide and answer all of the entire application. Returning applicants only will need to provide the cover page and part B only, which is the funding request. Any questions regarding any of that on this slide? Anything that I've went over so far? No. Hearing none, I'm going to move forward. In the scoring process. So we do all new applications, they have to pass the threshold review, which is we make sure that you have all the attachments, answered all questions, and you provided us all of the documentation that we asked for, and then we go through the threshold review. That's an internal review. However, for the actual application, we have a evaluation panel that looks through the application and score each application based on priority needs statement, performance outcomes, your accounting and financial management, the capacity or program management, and the coordination and collaboration with other agencies. So any organization who have unresolved EFSP compliance issues are not eligible to apply for funding until that compliance is cleared through the national board. And I am happy to report I don't believe we have any unresolved compliance issues with any of our recipients currently. Organizations that have funds reallocated or returned or any other violation are not eligible to apply as well. And organizations that reallocated 25% or more of their funding to another LRO in the last two funding phases, and I apologize, I have a typo. It's last three funding phases, which is 37, 38, and CARES. They will not be eligible to apply for phase 39. And then 10 points will be deducted from the total score of the local recipient organizations that did not turn in required reports or documentations from any of the previous phases by the due date identified by the local or national board. And the reason for the scoring deductions of the 10 points is because, for example, final reports, they're due by a certain date. Now you can turn those reports in later, but you hold up all of the other LROs, the local recipient organization in receiving their final payment. So that's an incentive for everyone to get their reports turned in on time, because you will be deducted 10 points if that happened in any of the previous phases, because we can't send the final report to national board until all local recipients have turned in their final reports. Any questions regarding that? Hearing none, I'm going to move forward. And I talked about this already. All applicants that receive a score of 70 or above will be considered for funding. However, ranking is determined by score and region. So the final ranking and funding recommendations are submitted to the local board, and all the funding recommendations are subject to the national board approval, meaning the local board could approve it, but once we send it to the national board, if there's something that they saw on at their level, they can come back and say, you know what, X agency, we still have something pending for them. We can't approve them for funding. It's possible. Does it happen often? No, but it is possible. I talked about the threshold review. Applications that don't pass the threshold requirements will not be considered for funding or eligible to appeal. The application review is reviewed by a committee, like I mentioned earlier, and that's local board members, other volunteers, special other experts at providing food and shelter services. So that panel does the application scoring and ranking. And those evaluators do attend an orientation. Each application is read and scored by at least two or three evaluators. And we say at least two or three. We would like more, However, sometimes it is a little difficult for us to recruit evaluators because it does take voluntary time for reviewing these applications, but they will be read and scored by at least 2 to 3 evaluators. As I said earlier, applications who receive 70 or higher will be considered for funding. Ranking is determined by application score and region. And then final recommendations will be submitted to the local board for approval and then to the national. An important thing to note is that the national board directly funds all EFSP local recipient organizations. The County of Riverside, HHPWS, does not provide funds to the local recipients. So the funds come directly from the national board to the agencies. Any questions?
Hi, Rashana. This is Kimberly from CVRM.
Hi, Kimberly. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So I have a question. So I'm looking at my dashboard right now on EFSP, and 35 and 36 are completed, but when will 37 cares and 38 final reports to be done will be done?
So those final reports won't be done until 45 days after the closing of the period. And the local board decided back in January to extend the closing of those phases until September 30th.
Okay, so we're looking almost at Christmas time, right?
Right, well, a little before Christmas time, a little before Christmas time, but yeah.
Okay, I just want to put it on my calendar to keep an eye out for it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank
So
you.
I have been checking those final reports. I know some agencies may have already spent their money. However, the portal for the final reports is not open yet. So it's not an option to submit your final reports yet.
No, I know. And we haven't received our second payments yet either.
Was it, well, I'll talk to you offline because I can check on my end.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. Thank you.
No problem. The application. So the project application, there's a cover page. All applicants must complete that cover page, new and returning applicants. Part B is the application information. Not Part B. Part A is the applicant information, and this is only for only for new applicants. You must complete Part A. And of course, we like to explain a new applicant is someone who have not received funding in the last 3 phases, and a returning applicant is an organization who has received funding in the last 3 phases. So Part B is the funding request. All applicants must complete Part B, new and returning. Part C and D are only for new applicants. So the required documents, we need all the required documents for new applicants. And then the Part D is the application narrative. We need the narrative questions for all new applicants. And just to let you know, the reason for this is because the returning applicants completed this information maybe a year or so ago. So that's the reason why the local board decided to keep the same process, because they just submitted that information. We had 2 phases come out around the same time. So they had to complete this information for the 2 phases already. So that's the reason why they don't have to complete the required documents or the application narrative, because we already have that information. Any questions regarding what I just went over? Hearing none. So the mandatory attachments for returning applications, I already went over, which is the cover page in Part B. But for new applicants, These are the mandatory attachments: a copy of your 501c3, a copy of your board roster, scheduled board meetings, copy of board minutes, a financial year-end report, and that can be either an independent or annual review, an independent audit, annual review, or a financial year-end report. Match documentation, and we'll get into the match requirement in later on in this presentation. Copies of your client forms, your intakes, anything that you use to collect client data. A copy of your client non-discrimination statement, mission statement, hotel and motel agreements, if applicable, if you're applying for other shelter, which is motel vouchers, an excluded parties list verification, 211 community resource database, the program information form, which was attached to at the end of the project application, and then the COC membership letter, which is also attached at the end of the application. Any questions regarding these attachments? Hearing none. So this is the system for award management. You're going to search this is the excluded parties list. You're going to search your organization here. And this is just a screenshot of how you search it. We want to make sure that your agency is not on this excluded list to receive federal financial assistance. And if you need further help with assistance with going through this management system, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. This is another part of the process, and this is how you would go about searching your agency. Of course, you have to provide your DUNS number. And then print that report out. And that will suffice the exclusion requirement backup documentation that is needed for your application. So Part B, the funding request. So new applicants, all applicants, new applicants are limited to 5,000 and a maximum of 20,000 per supervisory district. If you receive previous funding, of course, it's more 5 and 50 per district. And this is an example of how you would complete this section. So if you looking at food, we'll take food. If you're planning on serving meals to 1,000 individuals, the max we can charge for meals is $2 per meal. So you would do $2 times 1,000 meals, and that will be your funding request will be $2,000 for food. Did anybody have any questions on what I just said? Everyone is muted, so feel free to unmute if you do have any questions. No? Okay, for let's say rent and mortgage. Rent and mortgage assistance, average assistance is about $1,200. That's an average. Now for rent and mortgage, you can only provide 1 month of assistance. That's 1 month of assistance per phase. So for example, when I say per phase, is organizations who received phase 37, phase cares, and phase 38, they can potentially provide up to 3 months of mortgage or rental assistance because they can provide 1 month per phase. So let's say your average assistance is $1,200, anticipated number to assist is 20 households. So your funding request will be 24,000. Does that make sense? Yes, no, maybe so. So when you complete this information, if you're going to apply in all categories, you just sum up that you sum up the amounts and put the total at the bottom. Now, the next part of this application is you're going to do per district. So if you want to serve the 2,000 meals in District 1 only, this will be how you will complete this this part of the application, and you would do it per category. But let's say you only want to serve meals in District 1. You just put the served meals, the 2,000 for the served meals here, leave the other blank, and then per district total, you'll put the $2,000 total here. And so on and so forth if you plan to serve in more than one district. Any questions regarding these two parts of the application? No? Okay. Thank you. So the next part of the funding request, like I said, I do have to put this. This EFSP is intended to supplement or expand an existing program. So EFSP requires at least a 55% match of your total budget for this for your program. And let's say your total budget for your program is $360,000. The match amount, because the 55% of 360,000, your match amount would be 198,000. And you would have to show where that 198,000, sorry, you would have to show where that 198,000 will come from. Any questions regarding match? And this is an example of your some sources that you may or may not have here, but it has to be 55% of your total program budget. And this is just an example of a match as well. So the total budget is 180. Your EFS request is 40,000. Your match will be 99,000. 55% of 180. Required documents. Applicants with any missing applications. I mean, not applications. Applicants with any missing required documentation will not be scored. Therefore, and it wouldn't pass threshold, because those are what we look for when we do the internal threshold scoring. Is we make sure that all required documentation is provided for the application. Any questions so far? I'm hearing none. We're going to move on to part D, which is the application narrative. Every question must receive a response. As I said earlier, the 2 to 3 evaluators, and then all applications that receive a score of 70 or higher will be considered for funding. And that's for 70 or higher is for the application narratives. That will be what is scored, the application narrative. And don't forget that it should not exceed 10 pages, and that's for the questions and the answers. Again, this is the phase 39 timeline. The question and answer period, it will end August 13th at 5 o'clock. I will post those questions and answers, if we receive any, on our website. And then the deadline to submit those applications is Friday, August 20th by 5 p.m. And you can submit to EFSP@rivco.org. Any questions? No questions? Any comments? Is anyone out there?
Thank you. Thank you. This is Colleen from the Help Center, and thank you. You've been really awesome. I really loved the presentation. I like with where you show the like the samples, especially in regards to funding, because I feel like those three parts are really where you can mess up easily. So I just really thank you for your time. You were very, very thoughtful. I really appreciate it always. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Thanks, Roshana. This is Kimberly, CVRM.
No problem, Kimberly. Thank you.
Thanks, Roshana. This is Ann. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. And as always, please feel free to reach out. I also included some references for you. This is the United Ways, the National Board's website. And always you can get in contact with the local board contact, which is myself, at EFSP@rivco.org. And I can give everyone my telephone number. I don't mind. I tend to. If I'm not in a meeting, I will answer. I don't answer after hours because that's just me trying to. I'm trying to work on self-care, so I won't answer it after hours, but during work hours, I will answer it. My number is 951-203-4035, and that's 951-203-4035. Any last minute questions? Anything I forgot to mention? Who you experienced organizations? Anything that I didn't mention that you guys want clarity?
I think you did a great job. I really feel like you covered everything so thoroughly, and I've been to a lot of these. So I really feel like you did a really great job. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, I know I scheduled for 2 hours. That's because I didn't know I was going to have a quiet crowd. Sometimes I take it as a compliment. I'll take it as a compliment. But feel free to reach out if you have any questions after this training, EFSP@rivco.org, or you can give me a call at 951-03-4035. I prefer email when it comes to questions because I can add it to the question and answers. The question and answered portion of this RFA so that I can post it on the website, because you never know, other organizations may have the same question. All right. If there are no other questions or comments, I will give you back 1 hour and 8 minutes of your time today. All right, everyone have a productive week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.